Good morning, folks, and welcome to this cold but sunny winter's morning. In today's video, I'm going to discuss the truth, the unvarnished truth about living with an EV in the UK right now. I'll try and provide as many real-world examples as I can, and that's through my experience of owning this car for the last 18 months and driving around about 25,000 miles so far. So yeah, if you want to know the truth or my experiences of living with an EV and warts and all, then stick around. So before we get into the detail, I wanted to provide a bit of context and set the scene. So I've been driving for well over 30 years now. I've driven lots of different vehicles, petrol, diesel, automatics, manuals, cars, vans. I am not, as a lot of people will be saying probably in the comments already, an EV evangelist, phrase that's been coined. I've experienced lots and lots of vehicles before jumping into the world of EV. This video isn't here, I'm not telling you to buy an EV or promote EV. I'm just to give you my real world example and my experiences of living with an EV. Before owning this car, which is a Tesla Model 3 Performance 2023 model, I had a Kia Sportage 1.6 petrol automatic. So that was the car that I had before this one. What were the reasons for going for an electric car? I mean, I did a lot of research beforehand, but some of the main drivers for me going for a full electric vehicle was running costs, which we'll get into later in this video. But I do quite a few miles, or I was doing quite a few miles, certainly before the pandemic anyway, on the road. So I was looking for a vehicle that was cheap to run. So first I'm going to touch upon charging an EV. I know that's quite a hot topic sometimes, and you see a lot of misinformation out there. Again, as I said, I'm going to give you my real world examples and my experience of living with this car for the last 18 months. I will top it off at the start of the conversation about charging, is that if I wasn't in the lucky position that I could charge my car at home on the drive, which I can, then I probably wouldn't have an EV, and that's for two main reasons. The first reason being the stark difference between the cost in charging at home on an EV tariff compared to charging with public charging. There's such a gulf in the difference at the moment until either government policy or charge point operators lower the price. I don't think I'd probably have an EV. The main reason, as I said before, of getting an EV was to do with cost, as in to try and keep my running costs down. The other reason is purely convenience. Being able to wake up in the morning, as I did this morning, with a full battery, ready to hit the road, is a bit of a game changer, really, if you've never experienced it, in my view. Yeah, it's just really convenient. But yeah, back to charging, in terms of the detail. So at home, I have a home charger installed, and I'm on the Intelligent Optimus Go tariff, which currently the off-peak rate is 7 pence per kilowatt hour, and then the standard rate at home is, I think, around about 26 pence per kilowatt hour. So if you compare that with public charging costs, so Tesla superchargers, for me and my experience, are predominantly around about 39 pence per kilowatt hour, depending on the time of day when you get to the superchargers, because they have fluctuating prices depending on peak and off-peak. But that can also range to up to sort of 89 pence or beyond per kilowatt hour for some other charge point operators. So you can see the difference between home charging off-peak at 7 pence per kilowatt hour to, you know, anything north of 89 pence per kilowatt hour. So yeah, as I said, I probably wouldn't have an EV if I couldn't charge at home. So to give you some real world example of what that actually means in terms of charging costs, certainly for me, as I mentioned before this car I had a Kia Sportage. It was a 2021 model, 1.6 petrol automatic, all-wheel drive, and on average used to spend between 250 to north of £300 a month on petrol, where for the last 18 months with this car we're averaging around £30 a month. So as you can see, a considerable difference in terms of cost, certainly for us anyway, for running the car, in terms of fueling it, and that's doing the same mileage that we were doing before in the Sportage. Our circumstances haven't changed, we're still doing the same miles. So in terms of ease of charging, as I've mentioned before, I have the lucky opportunity to be able to charge on my drive at home. We have a home charger installed, which is a Hypervolt home-free model with a tethered charge cable, and this charger at home is synced up to our energy supplier Octopus on the Intelligent Octopus Go tariff. It's all very easy to register. It's all done on the Octopus app, and then Octopus in effect take control of the charging of your vehicle, and they pick the best times or the cheapest times to put electrons in your car. On the Intelligent Octopus Go tariff, you get a guaranteed off-peak period, predominantly overnight. I think it starts at 11:30 at night through to, I think it's 6:30 in the morning now, I can't quite remember. So that's guaranteed at 7 pence per kilowatt hour at the current rates. So in addition to the guaranteed off-peak period with the Intelligent Octopus Go tariff, there are times when you plug your car in for a charge that they might give you additional off-peak periods, as I say, in addition to the guaranteed period. So what that means in real terms, so for instance, if I was to get home this evening at 5 o'clock this evening, which is obviously normally outside of the off-peak period, and I get back with 10% state of charge, and I tell Octopus Energy via their app that I'd like the car charged up to 80%, and I need it ready for 6 o'clock the next morning. When you plug the car in, Octopus Energy will work out if the cost of energy to them, if there's cheap energy available, and if there's a glut of energy, especially like in the summer. You see a lot more, well, I have anyway, seen a lot more additional off-peak periods in the summer when there's obviously additional solar or wind being produced. But yeah, so what that means is you might get some schedules. So I plug the car in, and it might say that they're going to charge the car between 6 in the evening and 7 in the evening, and then again at 8:30 in the evening right through till the next morning. So you've gained some additional off-peak periods. What a lot of people don't seem to mention about the EV tariff, it's not just your car that's getting the 7 pence per kilowatt hour. Your whole house is getting that cheap energy. So you get the guaranteed 7 pence per kilowatt hour for the whole house during the nights, as mentioned. But when you get when you plug the car in, you get the additional slots on the schedule during the day. The whole house is still getting that cheap 7 pence per kilowatt hour. I know at home, sometimes when we plug the car in, it's given us a cheap window during the day. We'll look to put the washing machine on, or put the tumble dryer on, or anything like that as well, just to make additional use of that extra cost saving. So not only are you saving money in terms of your driving, what we are anyway, in terms of driving an EV, the cost of fueling the car, but you're also saving a small amount of money at home as well with the cheap rates. So it's an added bonus as far as I'm concerned. The other advantage that we found with the Octopus Energy tariff, and I must stress this is not being sponsored by Octopus Energy. I wish it was. However, interestingly, if you are in the market for moving across to the Octopus tariff, I'll put a link in the description for a referral link. If you were to sign up using that link, you would get £50 credited to your electric account, and I'd also get £50 credited to my electric account by using that referral code. But anyway, the other advantage that we've seen, or I've seen, for using the Octopus tariff is you occasionally get, again, it seems to be more in the summer, a thing called plunge pricing. So that means that other non-Tesla EV chargers like Osprey, Ionity, Instavolt, that you can use with an Electroverse card, which comes with the account, with the Instant Octopus Go account. You get plunge pricing, so you get like 20% off EV charging at various periods of the day. And I can't say I've ever come across a petrol forecourt where a period of a day they've had a 20% off the price per pence per litre. If there are occasions like that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I've never seen it. So I think it's just another advantage. The other thing with Octopus Energy, you sometimes get saving periods. So what that means is they will notify you on the app there's a saving period coming up the next day between, let's say, 1 and 2 in the afternoon. Predominantly, again, that's down to excess solar or wind production. So it's just there's more energy on the grid than is required. And if you use more energy in that period of time that they give than you would normally use, then that additional energy is credited back to your account for free. So again, more savings. So on that basis, just having an EV alone, through running the car in terms of fueling it and the cost at home, and in terms of our electric cost at home, using all our appliances at home, has certainly provided us with considerable cost savings already. So I guess there may be comments saying, well, yes, you might be saving money, but how much have you had to spend out? So on average, to get a home 7 kilowatts EV charger installed at home, depending on which charger you go for and how complicated your install is, could range between sort of £700 to just over £1,000. I think our Hypervolt, with the cost of the unit itself and the install, came in around about just under £900. £900 is a lot of money. I understand that, and not everybody could afford that. But having the convenience and the speed of a 7 kilowatt charger at home, the functionality you can get with it as well, and also having a smart home charger like the Hypervolt that integrates with the intelligent Octopus Go tariff. To be on that tariff, you need a compatible charger. I bet that there is an option possibly for charging at home on just a standard 3-pin socket. A lot of EVs are supplied with a standard 3-pin UK socket charging cable that you plug in, obviously the 13 amp socket one end, and there's a type 2 charging cable adapter at the other end to plug into the car, affectionately known as a granny charger. Personally, I wouldn't look to use the granny charger for a permanent option to charge in the car at home. I know some people do, I believe, but yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't, and the reasons being, I think obviously drawing that amount of current for long term on a standard 13 amp socket, yeah, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that. I'd certainly recommend getting your electrics checked by a professional just to confirm it would stand up to the job, if that's something you're interested in doing. The other reason, well, they have a couple of reasons, being, as I said before, you need a compatible charger to be on the the Intelligent Octopus Go tariff, and those mobile chargers won't be, or the 13 amp granny chargers won't be. The other reason I wouldn't use a granny charger as a permanent option is down to the convenience in terms of speed. You'll be getting a lot slower rates of charge with a granny charger, as opposed to having a 7 kilowatts dedicated EV charger at home. As I said, having a home EV charger is so convenient for all the reasons I've just explained. When I get back from my trip today, I'll probably have around about 10% state of charge in my car. I'll plug it in, and tomorrow morning I'll have a full battery, or charged to 80%, ready to go again, and that'll give me, that 80% will give me a range of about 260, 270 miles. So while we're talking about range, so why don't we move on to the subject of range of EVs, because again, I know that's another contentious point, a lot of misinformation. Again, I'll just give you my real world example, and as I said before, I'm not here to push EVs down people's throats. I'm not here to promote EVs. I'm just here to give you the information in terms of how I found living with an EV. So in terms of range, this Tesla Model 3 Performance, which is not the most efficient out of the Model 3 models. In the summer, I'll get a comfortable 280 miles of range, pushing up to 300 miles if I'm driving like Miss Daisy. But if you've got a Model 3 Performance, why would you? And then down to around about 250 miles in the winter, which to some, again, that might not seem a lot. I'll just provide examples. So the Kia Sportage that I had before this, from a full tank down to empty, i.e. the light coming on, I'd be hard pushed to get more than about 350 miles out of the tank because it was so thirsty. So not a huge difference from this car, to be perfectly honest, certainly in the summer. But obviously there's a huge difference in the cost, which we've just covered. So in terms of range, 250 to 280 miles for me is more than fine. My driving habits at home are as follows. I work from home a lot of the time. However, we live in a rural part of North Devon in the UK, so to actually get anywhere, to shops, I've got to drive. So it's to get into the nearest supermarkets is around about 15 miles away from our house. So you're talking a 30-mile round trip. So I'm doing that a few times a week, which is obviously a lot. And as I said, the car will obviously easily eat those miles up. However, we do go and visit family in Hampshire and also in mid Wales, from our home in North Devon. Hampshire trip we do quite regularly, which is around about 150 miles there, and the trip to mid Wales to see family is around about 210 miles. The car eats those miles up, and has never been an issue in terms of range or range anxiety. Never had range anxiety at all. Certainly no more than I've ever had in a petrol or diesel car when the light's been on for quite a few miles and I'm just waiting for the car to cough and run out of fuel. I probably had more anxiety in a petrol or diesel than I've ever had in this. Also do quite regularly, as I am today, a trip to my head office in Hertfordshire, and that's around about 230 miles from my home address, so obviously in excess of 400 mile round trip. I will stop to charge en route. I'm planning to stop at Amesbury superchargers en route today. That isn't because the car needs to stop. I could get to my head office on one charge, albeit I would arrive with a low state of charge. However, I can tell you now, my bladder will not allow me to drive 4 hours without stopping. I don't particularly want to do that either. I could do with a drink, but I certainly will need a comfort break. So obviously when you stop, why would you not put some charge in your car? 9 times out of 10, the car is ready and charged before I'm ready to leave, i.e. I'm still grabbing a comfort break, grabbing something to eat or drink. I'm normally having to rush back to the car, certainly for the Tesla superchargers anyway, because the car's telling me it's ready, it's finished. A lot of the times I'm having to rush back to the car because the car's telling me it's nearing its completion in terms of charge, and I'd like to avoid the overstay fees. With Tesla superchargers, I think once you arrive at your desired state of charge and the car stops charging, you have a 5-minute grace period before you start getting charged £1 a minute. So what I'm trying to say in terms of range, obviously I can only give you my experience of driving this car. Obviously lots of other EVs have different range capacities, so I'll just suggest you do your research, and it all depends on your use case. Obviously how many miles you do on average, and how often you do long distances. And I know a lot of people have questions, or say they get range anxiety or charger anxiety, I suppose. The fact that if I'm running out of charge, will I be able to find a place to charge it? Certainly in the 18 months that I've had this car, the charging infrastructure has expanded exponentially. Just where we live in rural North Devon, I can think of various places where multiple chargers have gone in. So in terms of charger issues, any problems I've had with using chargers, which would, may induce some range anxiety, in the 18 months of having this car, I can't think I've ever had a problem with any chargers. I've certainly never had any problems with Tesla superchargers, and I've used quite a lot of other operators like Osprey, Instavolt, Ionity, Fastned. I've never had a problem. Sometimes they're a little bit more of a faff than the Tesla plug and go chargers, but yeah, never had a problem. Obviously, admittedly, some are a lot more expensive than Tesla. So what I'm trying to say is, for me personally, yeah, range of this car has never been an issue. I mean, you can go on YouTube and there's lots of examples of range tests. I mean, if you look back at my channel, I did a bit more of a deep dive in terms of a trip I did from North Devon to Hertfordshire, and how long it took in terms of charging, and how long I stopped for and so forth. So yeah, feel free to take a look at that video. But yeah, range never been an issue. Maybe that's down to my short range of my bladder, I don't know, but yeah, all I say is just do your research. There's plenty of, let's say, YouTube videos out there of people doing range tests, and people travel across Europe and so forth. Yeah, not a problem. I don't think it's a problem. However, if you want to drive 500 miles without stopping, and fair play to you if you can or want to, yeah, then perhaps EVs, well, certainly at the moment, maybe aren't for you. But yeah, all I can tell you is that from my experience, the last 18 months, and doing in that 18 months, pushing on for nearly 24,000 miles, I've never found range an issue. Moving on to sort of maintenance costs or sort of running costs, apart from obviously charging, which we've already covered. Yeah, again, minimal costs. Obviously, being an electric vehicle, there's very few moving parts. There's just very little to service on EVs. I know some EV manufacturers still require you to have a service once a year or so many miles to maintain the warranty on the vehicle. That was another selling point to why I went for Tesla. They don't have any service intervals. There's no service book to stamp. There's no schedule. There's some recommendations for changing out like the pollen air filter after 2 years. But yeah, there is no running costs in terms of annual services, certainly for this car anyway. The car will tell you, when there's an issue and when you need to book a service. I have had an issue with this car since I've had it. A small issue. One of the side repeater cameras was failing due to water ingress. So this is impacting a few other services on the car, so autopilot and some other services that it needs all the cameras to rely on. However, that experience was a positive experience, believe it or not. Apart from obviously frustrating having an issue with quite a new car, but these things happen. You certainly from a Tesla point of view, you can book a service on the app. You tell this on the app what the issues are. You can upload pictures and all sorts, provide them with as much information as possible. Then they'll get back to you on the app to book in your service. And a lot of times, and as did happen this time for me, they'll send out a mobile technician. So my car was repaired, sat on my drive at home while I worked from home. The technician was brilliant. He came and fitted a new camera on the side repeater within 45 minutes. It was very quick. And then before he left, he asked, was there anything else that he can look at, which I was quite surprised. Normally they're obviously trying to, fleece you. I mentioned there was a couple of just minor squeaks and rattles, which he resolved quite quickly. The whole experience was great. It was all done under warranty, so there was obviously no cost. I couldn't fault it. I know some people have a few bad words to say about Tesla servicing. In my experience, well, the only one time I've had to use it was positive. But yeah, so running costs for this car for the last 18 months, apart from electric, which we've touched upon, is screen wash. I'm just trying to think what else. I think that's it in terms of maintaining the car. The car's still on its original tyres, and it's on its original brakes. I meant touched upon brakes. I'll discuss about driving experience in a minute, but touching upon brakes, you very rarely use your brakes due to regen braking, so your brake pads and discs should last a hell of a lot longer than a normal combustion car. But yeah, so the car's on its original brakes, discs, pads, tyres, and yeah, the only thing I've ever really spent out apart from electric is on screen wash. In terms of insurance, moving from the Kia Sportage to this car, yes, it was more in terms of the insurance per annum. I think it was about £220 a year more than what I was paying before. But then, firstly, at that point in time, insurance costs were skyrocketing. And also, I'd moved from a Kia Sportage. I can't remember what group that car was. Something like Group 22, something like 25, to a Group 50 car, which this is. I mean, this car has a 0 to 60 of, I think it's 3.4 seconds or thereabouts. So I'm not surprised there was an increased insurance, if I'm perfectly honest, and the value of the car as well was more. So I don't actually think the insurance that I got stung for was too bad, to be perfectly honest. Again, in terms of costs, I mean, not so much running costs, but obviously people are going to, in the comments again, will say the purchase cost. Well, to buy an EV is more expensive than a combustion car. Yeah, predominantly that's probably still true to a point, but I think every quarter I'm seeing EVs are becoming either closer and closer to their combustion car equivalents in terms of cost to buy, or there is price parity now on various models. So I don't think that's even such a thing now. I know there'll be other people screaming about depreciation. Yeah, my view is I think most cars depreciate, obviously some quicker than others. As soon as you drive them off the forecourt, yeah, depreciation, unless I'm intending to sell the car, then I'm not particularly concerned about it, if I'm perfectly honest. So we've covered charging costs, and sort of the basics of charging an EV, or the experience of charging. We've looked at range. As I said, I don't think, well, certainly for this car, range is ever an issue. Looked at running costs and obviously purchase costs. I'm just going to move on to the actual just driving experience of an EV, and for me, I think that was, apart from the cost savings, it was the real game changer for me. So as I mentioned before, I've been driving for 30 plus years and I've driven lots of different vehicles: petrol, diesel, automatics, vans, cars, minibuses, lorries, or small, 7.5 ton lorries. But yeah, moving to this being my first EV, the driving experience for me personally, maybe it's again maybe an age thing, I don't know. I just love driving it. It's such a easy experience to drive. I can only give you my real world experience of driving this car, a Tesla Model 3 Performance. But yeah, I love driving it. It's so easy to drive. One pedal driving for me is as I said, a game changer. So for those that aren't in the know, so what this means is all I'm using 99% of the time is the accelerator pedal. I very rarely use the foot brake, or the friction brake. The car starts to brake the moment you start lifting off the accelerator pedal, and it's due to the regen braking, so it's the car putting energy back into the battery and starts to slow the car down. I think it took about couple of days worth of driving to really get used to it. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to do, in my view. I'm trying to give you an example of what it's like in terms of learning. I suppose if anyone that's driven a manual car and learning the biting point on a clutch, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but the one pedal driving, you learn quite quickly, how much you need to ease off on the accelerator pedal to how much braking will be applied via the regen. But it does come quite naturally. It doesn't need a massive reprogramming of the mind to drive. I found it quite an easy shift into the one pedal driving, and I absolutely love it. The other thing I love about driving this car, and my understanding it's the same for most EVs, is just having that power, that torque, that acceleration on tap. So what I mean by that, as in there's no gear changes, because there are no gears. It just goes. It just pulls like a freight train. This thing does. So it provides you with the confidence if you needed to overtake. But yeah, it's such a smooth delivery of power, in my humble opinion. And as an example, going up a really steep hill, in other cars I would either have it to be possibly changing down gear if it was a manual, or I would hear the car change down gear if it was an automatic, whereas this thing just seems to power up a hill like it's not there, if I'm perfectly honest. You might have to apply the accelerator pedal a little bit more, possibly, but it just keeps going. Love it. Some of the other perks that I found living with an EV, I believe this function is available to some ICE cars, but predominantly I think it's mainly EVs, and that's being able to warm up your car and defrost your car while you're sat in your house. So for this morning, for instance, it was -2 outside when I left home. When I looked out the window this morning, the car looked like an igloo, but I preset the car to precondition to warm the cabin up and warm the battery up before I left. So the car was warming up and preconditioning while I was having a shower and sipping on my Earl Grey, and then I managed to jump into a nice warm car. So the same is true in the summer. This car's black, so with that and the big glass roof, it can get pretty warm in the summer. However, you can cool the car down remotely before you get in it, so you've got a nice cool car to get into in a nice comfortable temperature, so you're not burning yourself as you get in. Yeah, I mean there's lots of other features that are specific to Tesla. I'm trying to be as generic as I can be. Obviously I can only go from experiences of driving this car, but I'm trying to be generic in terms of covering my experience of driving an EV, other than driving a Tesla. But yeah, would I go back to a combustion car? No, but as I said at the start of this video, I'd have to make some serious decisions in terms of if I couldn't charge it at home, as I said, because of the convenience and also the cost of public charging. I think if the cost of public charging was almost comparable to the domestic tariff and the cheap rates, which I can't see it ever being, but if it was, then I'd probably forego the convenience and would still would have an EV. So in summary, would I recommend buying an EV or leasing an EV? I think that all depends on the use case. Again, EVs aren't for everybody. In my experience, moving from petrol and diesel cars to this, then yeah, as I said, I've enjoyed the driving experience. I've enjoyed the cost savings in terms of running. Range isn't an issue. It's certainly probably the best vehicle that I've driven in my 30 plus years of driving. That might be because it's a Tesla, I don't know, because I haven't driven other EVs. But yeah, I'm just trying to give you my experience over the last 18 months, and just to give you the truth of driving this car. It's not, there's no ulterior motive. I'm not trying to push EVs to say they're the best thing since sliced bread. They're not. This car's got its faults. I will be looking to do a couple more videos of sort of the best features of a Tesla Model 3 Performance, but also some of the worst features. So yeah, stay subscribed or stay tuned for those videos that will be coming soon. But yeah, so I'd be really intrigued to know any of your thoughts. So yeah, please put them in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions about driving an EV or driving a Tesla Model 3, I shall try and answer them as best I can. But yeah, I hope you've found this video useful. If you have, please give it a like. If you're feeling even more generous, a subscribe would be lovely. As I said, I've got some more videos in the pipeline, either specifically about a Tesla Model 3, but also just generally living with an EV. Yeah, so catch you in the next one.